Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to my channel Flexomaster Technical Education for Printing and Packaging. So here we start today the chapter number 17 and this will continue from the previous chapter for color basics and color management. So we will today complete this chapter and let us start color basics and color management. So monitor calibration and profiling. Good monitor to print coordination starts with the monitor in a two-step process. Calibration, then profiling. The point of monitor's calibration is to bring the section screen back to a group of standard settings for white point, the color of white luminance, the brightness of white, gamma, a simple curve to relate to the eyes, non-linear response to light. Black point, the darkest black the monitor can display. The gray balance, neutrality of grays and tonal response, how evenly a gray ramp runs from black to white. When you calibrate a monitor more accurately a display that includes the monitor and video card and driver, you actually change its setting and its behavior, and those new settings are in effect every time you start up the computer, and that in turn affects how you view and correct your images. If for example your monitor is set too bright, then your prints may end up too dark because you erroneously try to darken them on a screen to look better. That's why monitor calibration is so important for a correctly color managed digital workflow. Monitor profiling is step 2 and it's measure and describe the personality of that particular monitor. Profiling doesn't actually change anything, it's keep track of how the monitor is set up. You calibrate before you profile. Although in many instances, calibration and profiling occur in a continuous process, especially if you are using third-party software packages. Monitors should be calibrated and profiled regularly. Weekly is a good target. A smart, a smart monitor includes its own measuring device, colorimeter, that attached to the screen and wired back into the computer processor. The instant feedback from the colorimeter allows the system to adjust each individual RGB gun as part of the calibration process. The advantages of this system is that color management is automatically the RGB guns are adjusted for you. One disadvantage to such a system is the higher cost. What about the input profiles? Input profiles for digital cameras and scanners are part of the ICC color management scheme. And the process involves scanning a pre-measured target and when constructing a profile based on the RGB value differences. In reality, though, many people don't profile their inputs. Why not? The primary reasons is that device characterization requires that all variables remain constant. With digital cameras, for example, that means the light cannot change clearly. This will never happen except in a controlled studio environment with scanners. It means that the settings must always be the same, but many prefer to fiddle with software to get the best scan they can. Also, color negative scanning is extremely difficult to profile. However, with that said, more and more scanners are supporting proper profiling, and this can save you a lot of time in profiling, tweaking. So, if you have a very controlled, consistent workflow with either a scanner, digital camera, or a scanning back, then yes, you can definitely benefit from an input profile that is passed along with the image. Photographer, artists, however, who don't fall into This category are probably better off learning how to capture a full range of values with neutral gray tones, and they bring that image file into a color managed system from that point on. Custom made remote profiles. The next step is printer profile quality is to have one someone with for professional grade equipment, a spectrophotometer or a spectrocalorimeter based, make custom profiles for you. These will be more accurate because they are specifically created for your unique set of variables, including inks, paper, environment, driver settings, etc. It typically works like this. You download a single page darket with numerous color patches that have known values. See in the figure 6 here, and print it out to exact instructions that include printing with uncorrected settings. You want to capture the good and the bad about the printer. You send that printed page to the profile maker, who then scans it, builds a profile, and either emails or chip it back to you on a CD or allows you to download it from the web. You need to carefully record all the printer settings when you make the test print, and then use those same settings for all your printing with that profile, which can also be edited or tweaked if needed. Cost average around example $100 or less. Again, that's for each separate ink paper printer combination. Here I will explain you examples of printer profile target. X rights you use 378 patch CMYK target for the DTP41, spectrophotometer, and color visions 125 patch RGB test target spectrocalorimeter. Using profiles and soft proofing with Photoshop. We finally now have a set of color standards, ICC, and understandable, affordable tools to implement them. A color managed workflow with a calibrated monitor and the use of either generic, custom, or do it yourself printer profiles can give you accurate, consistent color. It does work if you spend the time to understand and work with profile generating and profile savvy software. Using printer profiles should be seriously considered. Number one, you are using non-OEM recommended third-party ink or media paper, for example. Second, number two, you are using OEM inks and media but want to compensate for their variation over time. Number three, you are discovering that your printer is inconsistent and you want to characterize its current behavior. Now, moving forward few steps of a color managed workflow. This will be an abbreviated tour focusing primarily on the color management aspects. In terms of media, it's accumulated lots of different paper samples. Haven't we all? And I wanted to see how a 35 millimeter color negative scan sent to me would print on something different. Hot mountain papers, 100% cotton Merlin photo. A perfect assignment for a customer made profile made with Greatech MaxBath I1 photo profiling system. Number one, open and convert. A color managed application like Photoshop must first know what to do with tagged or untagged documents. Tagging means associating a required source profile to the file. In this case, there was no source profile since received the scan from the someone who doesn't know about such thing, not an uncommon situation. Also, profiling a color negative scan is a very problematic, and it's often better to simply capture a good full range scan and take it from there. Open the scan of my two nieces Kira and Kathy in the Photoshop and immediately assign my typical working space. This gives me a bigger tent to work in. It can change the profile later. The scan needs some work and will do some basics image editing with labels and curves to darken it. It removes the overall green thing and most not shown. This is now new master file. Soft roof. One of the best ways to implement profile-based color management is with use Photoshop RGB soft proofing function. Soft proofing RGB files, you could always soft print. CMYK is a great advancement of for digital image editing from Photoshop, beginning with version 6 and so on. Soft proofing means proofing an image on screen with the use of one or more ICC profiles, so you can get an idea of how the images is going to print. The image is viewed through the visual filter of both a printer profile and a monitor profile. Photoshop will change the way the image looks based on these output and input if you have one profile. Soft proofing works like this is in my current situation. Duplicate the new master image duplicate for use as a visual reference. This is a temporary image that stays untouched. Number two, on the working image, I use the profile proof setup dialog box, view proof setup custom to create the proofing space I want. Under profile, choose the custom output printer profile I had made earlier with the I1 photo package. The intent tab let me pick a rendering intent for converting from document space to proofing space. Continue soft proof. The stimulate and use black point compensation checkbox offers options that give different renderings of the image. I don't worry if the soft proof image is still on my screen, looks less than perfect. I am getting a preview of how it will print if did not do anything to fix it. Now it's time to make any final edits based on the previewed image. The best way is with adjustment layers, viewing both the reference and new image side by side. In this case, now only need to flatten out the contrast in these faces a little with an RGB curve. As the last step, I view the final image full screen, use the F key, check for any out of gamut colors, view gamut warning, and if needed, make any last minute tweaks. I can see that the bright red top is out of gamut, but don't worry about it because this can preview the effect with view proof colors. Both gamut warning and proof colors are working from the base profile selected. If you are sending this file to someone else for output, I would save it as a flattened TIFF, which automatically embeds the assigned Adobe RGB 1998 profile to it. That way, anyone opening the file would know how I wanted it to look. However, since I am printing it myself, I don't have to take this step but can print directly from the layered PSD file. A few final notes about soft proofing in Photoshop. Number one, this applies to any profile managed desktop printing. Don't double dip your color management, but by that I mean don't use an ICC profile and have the printer driver do its own color adjusting. While various Epson, Canon, HP models which have differing configuration, the key is to turn off color adjustment, whether that occurs with the color sync ICM section or outside it. Failing to do this can lead to the unpredictable and usually disastrous results. The validity and quality of this soft proof process is directly related to how well you have calibrated your monitor. Don't skip or skim on that step. Number three, it's important to realize that as great as a digital soft proofing is, you will never match an on-screen preview to a final print exactly. It just isn't going to happen. You can get close, much closer now than ever before, but you still need to understand the limits of your hardware and digital workflow and make allowances for them in your own way. So thank you, and we have completed this chapter completely. And hello friends, this is Flexomaster channel you're watching, and we have completed the chapter number 17 for color basics and color management, and we will continue for our next video. And you are requested to like, share, and click the bell icon for watching the next videos. Thank you.